The great library of Axis Prime was quiet. Most researchers had gone home for the night. Only Curie remained, her luminescent skin giving off a soft blue glow in the darkroom. She didn't need much light to see. Her solar eyes could read in near darkness. Curie moved her finger across the screen, searching for more information for her thesis on interspecies conflicts. She had been at it for hours. Her neck hurt, but she didn't want to stop. Something about the Proxima Coalition War didn't make sense. Access denied, the computer said for the 5th time that night. Curie frowned. Why were so many files restricted? The war had ended 200 years ago. Historical records should be open to researchers like her. She tried a different approach. Instead of searching for battle reports, she looked for peace treaty documents. Those were usually public. File found. Warning: portions redacted by Galactic Federation Security Council. Finally, Curie whispered, leaning closer to the screen. The treaty was mostly blacked out, but one paragraph caught her eye. The species known as humans agree to withdraw to the designated sector and maintain isolation from all Galactic Federation species. In return, the Coalition and Federation agree to cease all hostilities against human settlements and colonies. Humans. Curie had never heard of this species. She quickly searched for humans in the database. Only 3 results appeared, all with security warnings. One was a biological classification file. She opened it. The file showed a bipedal species that looked similar to many others in the galaxy. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. But the notes were strange. Extremely adaptable physiology, unusual psychological responses to threats, high pain tolerance, exceptional endurance, not to be underestimated despite technological limitations. Curie saved the information to her personal device. This was odd. Why would a seemingly average species have such warnings? The library lights suddenly turned on. Curie jumped in her seat. Working late again, researcher Curie. Administrator Nex stood in the doorway. His gray scales reflected the bright light. Just finishing up, Administrator, Curie said, quickly closing the files. Nex walked to her station. What are you researching so intensely? The Proxima Coalition War. There are strange gaps in the records. Nex's eyes narrowed. That conflict is well documented. A small uprising, quickly contained. Then why are so many files restricted? And who were the humans mentioned in the peace treaty? Nex's scales darkened, a sign of stress in his species. Where did you find that name? In the treaty document. It wasn't fully redacted. Listen carefully, Curie. Nex lowered his voice. Some historical events are restricted for good reasons. The Security Council doesn't classify information without cause. But my thesis should focus on a different conflict. Nex's tone made it clear this wasn't a suggestion. The Orion dispute or the Centauri succession would be better topics. After Nex left, Curie gathered her things. His reaction only made her more curious. Why would the mention of an old war and an obscure species make an administrator nervous? The next morning, Curie met her friend Taiho at a cafe near the university. Taiho worked in the technology center, fixing old data systems. If anyone could help her access restricted files, it would be him. You want me to help you break into classified Federation archives? Taiho asked, his dark eyes wide. That's illegal, Curie. I'm not asking you to break in. Just find a way around some security protocols. Taiho ran a hand through his black hair. What's so important about this anyway? Curie leaned forward. Have you ever heard of humans? Something flashed across Taiho's face. Was it recognition? Fear? It disappeared so quickly Curie couldn't be sure. Why do you ask? His voice was carefully neutral. They were involved in the Proxima War, but nearly all records of them are classified. Don't you think that's strange? Taiho was quiet for a long moment. Then he sighed. Meet me at my apartment tonight. Bring everything you found so far. As he stood to leave, Curie noticed something she had never paid attention to before. Taiho's build was different from most people she knew. Denser muscles, thicker bones, larger hands. Small differences, but suddenly noticeable. Taiho, she called after him. Where did you say your family was from? He paused without turning around. The outer colonies. Why? No reason, Curie said, but she wondered if she had just found her first clue. Taiho's apartment was small but filled with old machines and computer parts. Screens covered one wall, all showing different data streams. Curie had never seen most of the equipment before. How did you get all this? She asked, touching a strange metal box with blinking lights. I collect old tech, Taiho said, moving the box away. Some of it is not exactly approved for private use. Curie showed him the files she had found. Taiho read them carefully, his face giving nothing away. I can help you access more information, he said finally, but not from here. We need to go somewhere safe. Where? The Outer Rim. I know someone who has access to old archives. A real expert on the Proxima War. 2 days later, they boarded a transport ship heading to the edge of Federation space. Curie had never left the central planets before. The ship was old and dirty, filled with workers and traders from many species. Stay close, Taiho said as they found seats in the crowded main cabin. Some people here don't like Solarans. Curie pulled her hood over her glowing skin. Why are we really going to the Outer Rim, Taiho? You know something about humans, don't you? Before he could answer, a loud alarm sounded. The ship shook violently. Attention passengers, the voice said over the speakers. We are being approached by an unmarked vessel. Please remain calm. No one remained calm. People ran in all directions. Some cried. Others hid under seats. Pirates, Taiho said, grabbing Curie's arm. We need to get to the escape pods. Another explosion hit the ship. Curie fell to the floor. 3 beings in black armor burst through the main door, holding weapons. They started grabbing valuables from the terrified passengers. Give me that, one pirate said, reaching for Curie's bag with her research materials. No. Curie held on tight. The pirate raised his weapon. Suddenly, Taiho was there. He moved faster than Curie had ever seen anyone move. His hand caught the pirate's arm, twisting it until the weapon fell to the floor. With his other hand, Taiho punched the pirate so hard he flew backward into the wall. The other pirates turned their weapons on Taiho. He dropped to the floor, rolled, and came up holding the fallen pirate's gun. 2 quick shots, and both pirates fell. Come on, Taiho said, breathing normally as if nothing unusual had happened. They ran to the escape pods. As their small pod launched into space, Curie stared at her friend. What was that? She asked. How did you move so fast? How did you know how to fight like that? Taiho looked out the window, avoiding her eyes. My family taught me to protect myself. No one in the Federation fights like that. No one moves that fast. Taiho was silent for a long time. Finally, he sighed. My great-grandmother was human. Human. But the records said they withdrew from Federation space. Most did. Some stayed and hid who they were, mixed with other species over generations. The escape pod's emergency beacon activated. A small Federation patrol ship picked them up 6 hours later. 3 days after that, they reached a small colony on a rocky moon. The buildings were old and simple. Few people walked the dusty streets. This is where your expert lives, Curie asked as they approached a small house on the edge of the settlement. Yes, his name is Junsu. He was there when the peace treaty was signed. He knows what really happened in the war. Junsu was very old. His skin was wrinkled and his back bent, but his eyes were sharp and clear. He invited them in without asking questions. I've been expecting someone like you for years, Junsu said, looking at Curie. Someone who would notice the gaps in history and ask questions. You know about humans? Curie asked. Junsu smiled sadly. Know about them. My dear, I negotiated with them. I saw what they did to the coalition. I helped create the lie that has kept the galaxy peaceful for 200 years. He went to a hidden panel in the wall and pulled out an old data crystal. If you truly want to know why the galaxy fears humans, why we erased them from our history, then let me show you how the war began. Junsu placed the data crystal in an old player. The wall of his small house lit up with images. Kiri and Taiho sat on worn chairs, watching as a piece of hidden history appeared before them. These are real recordings, Junsu said, not the edited versions in Federation archives. The first image showed a blue and green planet. Earth, Junsu said, the human homeworld. The view changed to show strange ships. They were blocky and simple compared to the smooth Federation vessels Kiri knew. Humans entered space later than most species, Junsu explained. Their technology was basic, but they moved fast. In 50 years, they went from their first orbit to having colonies on 20 worlds. The images showed humans building settlements on various planets. They worked quickly, using simple tools but solving problems in creative ways. The Proxima Coalition didn't like how fast humans were expanding, Junsu continued. They saw humans as a future threat. Proxima leaders claimed that in a few hundred years, humans would take over the galaxy. Was that true? Kiri asked. Junsu shrugged. Maybe. Humans adapt quickly. They think differently than most species. When they face a problem, they find unusual solutions. The images changed to show warships gathering. The sleek, powerful vessels of the Proxima Coalition moved into formation. The coalition decided to attack human colonies, Junsu said. It was meant to be a short war, a lesson to show humans their place in the galaxy. The recording showed coalition ships firing on small human settlements. Buildings exploded. People ran in fear. The human ships that tried to fight back were quickly destroyed. The attack was a surprise, Junsu said. Humans had no warning. 7 colonies were hit on the same day. Thousands died. Kiri felt sick watching the images. This was cruel. It was meant to make humans surrender quickly, Junsu said. The coalition expected them to give up, accept limits on their expansion, and take a lower place in galactic politics. The next images showed human leaders meeting. They looked angry but determined. But humans didn't react as expected, Junsu said. Instead of being afraid, they became united. Before the attack, human worlds argued with each other. They had different governments and didn't always agree. The attack changed that overnight. The screen showed a human woman speaking to a large crowd. Though Kiri couldn't understand the words, she could feel the power of the speech. The crowd roared in response. This was President Yoon, Junsu said. She told her people, "We did not start this war, but we will finish it." It became a famous saying among humans. Taiho was watching the screen closely. My great-grandmother told me stories about President Yoon. Junsu looked at Taiho with new interest. You have human blood. I thought they had all gone to the restricted zone. Not all, Taiho said. Some stayed behind, kept quiet about who they were. Junsu nodded slowly. That explains your build. Your reflexes. Humans are physically stronger than they look. Kiri studied Taiho. The small differences she had noticed now made sense. How did humans fight back? She asked. Their ships were no match for the coalition. Junsu smiled grimly. That's where everyone was wrong. When the coalition attacked, they awakened something dangerous, something they didn't understand. The recording showed human ships gathering. They were few and primitive. No match for the coalition fleet. Everyone thought the war would be over in weeks, Junsu said. The coalition expected an easy victory. The Federation expected humans to surrender. No one understood what humans were capable of when fighting for survival. He turned off the recording. That's enough for tonight. Tomorrow I'll show you what happened next. How humans responded to the attack. Why did you keep these records? Kiri asked. They're forbidden. Junsu looked old and tired. Because someone needed to remember the truth. Because the galaxy should never forget why we don't dare attack humans again. That night, as Curie tried to sleep, she couldn't stop thinking about the images she had seen. A species attacked without warning. Facing enemies with far better technology, it seemed hopeless. Yet Jun-Su had said humans won the war. How was that possible? What had they done that made the entire galaxy fear them for 200 years? Morning came too soon. Curie had slept poorly, her mind full of the images Jun-Su had shown them. After a simple breakfast, they gathered again in the main room. Jun-Su looked tired but determined. "Today, I'll show you how humans fought back," he said, inserting the data crystal again. "This is what the Federation doesn't want anyone to see." The wall lit up with new images. A human mining ship floated in space. It was large and bulky, designed to break apart asteroids. As they watched, people swarmed over the outside of the ship, attaching metal plates and what looked like weapons. Humans took whatever ships they had and turned them into warships, Jun-Su explained. Mining vessels, cargo ships, even pleasure craft. Nothing was wasted. The images changed to show many such converted ships. They didn't look impressive compared to Coalition warships, but there were hundreds of them. The Coalition expected humans to follow the standard rules of space warfare, Jun-Su continued. Big ships would fight big ships. Fleets would meet in open space, but humans didn't fight that way. The next recording showed a Coalition military base. It was night, and the base was quiet. Suddenly, 5 small human ships appeared, flying very low and fast. They dropped simple bombs on the base and were gone before the defenders could respond. "Hit and run," Jun-Su said. The humans never attacked where they were expected. They struck at supply lines, communication centers, and fuel depots. They avoided the main Coalition fleets that could destroy them easily. More images followed. Human ships hiding in asteroid fields. Humans using the gravity of planets to slingshot their vessels at high speed past enemy defenses. Small teams landing on Coalition worlds to destroy key facilities. They were creative, Jun-Su said with admiration in his voice. They used every trick, every advantage they could find. A new figure appeared on the screen. A young human with short black hair and intense eyes. He wore a simple uniform with small markings on the shoulders. "This is Do-Yeon Park," Jun-Su said. He was a junior officer when the war began. In just 2 months, he became the leader of all human forces. "How?" Curie asked, studying the human's face. He understood how to fight this kind of war better than anyone else. He created most of the strategies humans used. The recording showed Do-Yeon speaking to a room full of human officers. He pointed at star maps, showing where to attack and where to avoid. Do-Yeon realized humans couldn't win by fighting directly, Jun-Su explained. So he taught them to be like ghosts, to strike and disappear, to make the Coalition afraid of what might happen next. Tai-Ho leaned forward, watching intently. "I've heard his name in family stories. Many humans consider him their greatest military leader," Jun-Su said. The next images were harder to watch. Coalition ships exploding, bases burning. The humans were still losing more ships and people than the Coalition, but they were causing serious damage. 6 months into the war, the Coalition was getting frustrated, Jun-Su said. They had expected a quick victory. Instead, they were fighting an enemy they couldn't pin down. The recording showed a large Coalition fleet gathering. They decided to attack Earth directly, Jun-Su said. They thought destroying the human homeworld would end the war. Before Jun-Su could show more, a loud alarm sounded from a device on his table. "Someone's coming," he said, quickly turning off the recording. "Federation security ships just entered orbit." "How did they find us?" Curie asked, suddenly afraid. Jun-Su looked at her sadly. "Your research wasn't as secret as you thought. Someone reported you. They'd been tracking you since you left Axis Prime." "What do we do?" Tai-Ho asked, moving to the window to look outside. "You need to leave. Now." Jun-Su handed the data crystal to Curie. "Take this. Find the truth. The galaxy needs to remember what happens when you cornered humans. Outside, they could hear ships landing. Time was running out. Jung-Soo led them to a hidden door at the back of his house. This tunnel will take you to the old mining caves. You can hide there until it's safe. What about you? Kiri asked. I'm too old to run. Go now. Jung-Soo pushed them through the door. Find Ji-woo in the trading district of Halo Station. She can help you. The tunnel was dark and narrow. Tae-ho went first, pulling Kiri along behind him. They heard loud noises from Jung-Soo's house, doors breaking, voices shouting. Faster, Tae-ho whispered. They ran for what felt like hours through the winding tunnel. Finally, they reached a large cave with several small ships inside. Smugglers used these caves, Tae-ho explained, climbing into one of the ships. Jung-Soo must have known they were here. You know how to fly this? Kiri asked as she got in beside him. Tae-ho nodded, starting the engines, another human trait. We learned machines quickly. They flew low over the surface of the moon, avoiding the main settlement. Federation security ships circled above, searching for them. We need to watch the rest of the recording, Kiri said, holding the data crystal tightly. We need to know what happened. First, we need to get somewhere safe. 3 days later, they docked at Halo Station, a busy trading post floating in deep space. It was crowded with ships and people from across the galaxy. Easy to get lost in. How do we find this Ji-woo person? Kiri asked, pulling her hood low to hide her glowing skin. Jung-Soo said the trading district. Let's start there. The trading district was a maze of small shops selling everything from food to ship parts. After hours of searching, they found a small information shop with a sign that simply read data. Inside, a woman sat behind a desk. She had dark hair with a streak of white and sharp eyes that missed nothing. We're looking for Ji-woo, Tae-ho said. The woman studied them carefully. Who sent you? Jung-Soo from the outer colony. The woman's expression didn't change. Jung-Soo is dead. Federation security arrested him 3 days ago. He didn't survive questioning. Kiri gasped. Tae-ho's hands tightened into fists. You're Ji-woo? He asked. The woman nodded. And you're in serious trouble. The whole Federation is looking for you both. She pointed to a screen on the wall showing their faces. What did you do to deserve this? We found information about the human war, Kiri said. The real story, not the official version. Ji-woo's eyes widened. Inside. Now. She locked the shop door and led them to a back room. Show me. Kiri gave her the data crystal. Ji-woo inserted it into a player, and the recordings continued where they had left off. The screen showed the massive coalition fleet heading toward Earth, but something unexpected happened. Human ships appeared from behind Earth's moon, new ships that looked different from before. What are those? Kiri asked. Human ships with coalition technology, Ji-woo explained. This was the turning point of the war. The recording showed human boarding parties capturing coalition ships. They took the alien technology and quickly learned how to use it. Within months, they were building their own versions. Humans learn fast, Ji-woo said. The coalition didn't expect this. They thought their technology was too advanced for humans to understand. The next images showed the battle for Earth. The new human ships fought with surprising effectiveness. They didn't win easily. Many were destroyed, but they drove the coalition fleet back. After saving their homeworld, humans changed their strategy. Ji-woo continued. They stopped hiding and started attacking directly. The recording showed human fleets striking coalition worlds. Unlike the coalition, humans didn't target civilian areas. They focused on military bases, government buildings, and factories. Du-Yan Park made this rule, Ji-woo said. He wanted to defeat the coalition, not destroy their people. You know a lot about this, Tae-ho said, watching her closely. Ji-woo touched a spot on her neck. Her skin color changed, revealing a pattern of lines that matched the ones on Du-Yan's uniform in the recording. I should know. Du Yan Park was my great-grandfather. Ji Woo closed her shop and took Kiri and Tai-ho to her private quarters above the information store. The room was small but filled with old tech, star maps, and boxes of data crystals. My family has kept these records for generations, Ji Woo said. We are part of the Human Truth Network. We preserve what really happened during the war. Why? Kiri asked. Why keep these dangerous secrets? Because history should not be erased, Ji Woo said simply. Even horrible history. She inserted the data crystal into a better player. The images were clearer now, showing more detail. The war had been going for 1 year, Ji Woo explained. Humans had learned to use coalition technology. The fighting was becoming more equal. The recording showed battles across many star systems, human fleets growing larger. Coalition forces still strong but no longer easily winning. The real turning point came next, Ji Woo said. The Battle of Proxima Prime. The screen showed a massive space battle around a ringed planet. Hundreds of ships from both sides fired at each other. Explosions filled the darkness of space. Proxima Prime was the coalition capital, Ji Woo explained. Humans took a huge risk attacking it directly. Du Yan Park appeared on the screen again, older now, with lines on his face from stress and lack of sleep. He stood before a map of Proxima Prime, pointing to key targets. My great-grandfather knew this battle would decide the war, Ji Woo said with pride in her voice. He planned every detail. The recording showed human ships approaching Proxima Prime in 3 groups. The largest group attacked the main coalition fleet head-on, drawing their attention. While the defenders were busy, the other 2 groups slipped past. What were they doing? Tai-ho asked, leaning forward. Watch, Ji Woo said. One human group released thousands of small objects toward the planet. The other targeted the orbital defense stations with precise attacks. The small objects were biological capsules, Ji Woo explained. They contained diseases that only affected certain coalition species, not deadly, but made them very sick for weeks. Half the coalition soldiers on the planet couldn't fight. Kiri looked shocked. That's against all war rules. Yes, Ji Woo said. That's why humans won. They didn't follow the rules everyone expected them to follow. The recording continued. Human forces landed on the planet. They moved fast, targeting government buildings and military bases. Within days, they controlled the coalition capital. The screen then showed Du Yan Park making the speech to his officers after the victory. Ji Woo translated his words. Today we have shown the galaxy what happens when humans are pushed too far. We did not ask for this war. We did not want it. But when forced to fight for our survival, humans have no limits. Remember this victory, but do not take joy in it. The greatest victory would have been peace. Ji Woo paused the recording. This battle changed everything. After losing their capital, the coalition expected humans to destroy their worlds, to kill billions in revenge for the human colonies they had attacked. Did they? Kiri asked softly. No, humans offered peace terms. They demanded the coalition withdraw from all human space and pay to rebuild the destroyed colonies. But they did not ask for territory or for the coalition to disarm. That seems fair, Tai-ho said. It was, Ji Woo agreed. But the coalition was terrified. They had seen what humans could do when threatened, how quickly they adapted, how they fought without limits. She was about to continue when alarms sounded from her security system. Federation forces, she said, checking the screens. They found us. Outside, they heard the sound of ships landing. We need to go, Ji Woo said, grabbing a bag she kept ready. There's a hidden ship in the maintenance bay. Where can we go now? Kiri asked. They're hunting us everywhere. Ji Woo smiled grimly. There's one place they won't look. The human monument. The what? Tai-ho asked. The last human battleship, Ji Woo explained. Hidden away after the war. The Federation pretends it doesn't exist, but my family has always known where it is. She took the data crystal. There we can see the rest of the war. The part the Federation is most afraid for anyone to know. Ji Woo's ship was small but fast. She flew expertly through the busy traffic around Halo Station, then jumped to hyperspace before the Federation ships could follow. "They'll track us eventually," she said, "but we have a head start." "Where exactly are we going?" Kiri asked. "An old asteroid field near the border of what used to be Coalition space," Ji Woo replied. "The perfect place to hide a warship." Taiho sat quietly, looking at his hands. "I always knew I was different. Stronger. Faster. My family told me it was because we came from the outer colonies, where gravity was stronger. But they were lying to protect me." Ji Woo nodded. "Many human descendants hide who they are. The Federation doesn't officially discriminate against them, but people fear what they don't understand." 3 days later, they reached the asteroid field. It was huge, with thousands of rocks of all sizes floating in the emptiness of space. Ji Woo navigated carefully between them, following a path only she knew. "There," she said finally, pointing ahead. At first, Kiri saw nothing. Then she noticed a large, dark shape among the asteroids. As they got closer, she realized it was a massive ship, painted black to blend with space. It was angular and powerful looking, with huge weapon mounts along its sides. "The HSS Vengeance," Ji Woo said with respect in her voice, "the flagship of the human fleet during the final battles. Now it's a tomb and a monument that almost no one gets to see." They docked at a small, hidden entrance. Inside, the ship was dark and cold. Emergency lights came on as they entered, casting long shadows in the empty corridors. "The ship is kept in working condition by automated systems," Ji Woo explained. "My family checks on it once every 10 years. She led them to the bridge, a large room filled with control stations and screens. Everything was covered in a thin layer of dust. Ji Woo went to the main console and inserted the data crystal. "Now you'll see why the galaxy still fears humans 200 years later," she said as the main screen lit up. The recording showed the aftermath of the Battle of Proxima Prime. The Coalition had retreated but was not defeated. Their leaders met in secret and made a terrible decision. The Coalition was desperate, Ji Woo explained. They had lost their capital, but still had powerful forces. They decided on a final solution: destroy Earth and break the human spirit. The screen showed a massive weapon being built in deep space. It was shaped like a giant spike, with energy coils wrapped around it. "The Planet Killer," Ji Woo said, "designed to crack a planet's crust and make it uninhabitable." Kiri felt sick watching this. Did the humans know about this weapon? Not at first, Ji Woo said. They learned about it just 3 days before it was ready. Du Yan sent every ship he had to stop it. The recording showed a desperate battle. Human ships threw themselves at the Coalition fleet guarding the Planet Killer. Many were destroyed, but they kept coming. "They were too late," Ji Woo said softly. The Planet Killer fired. A beam of terrible energy shot across space and hit Earth. The blue-green planet shook. Huge cracks appeared on its surface. Oceans boiled. Billions died in minutes. The Coalition thought this would end the war. Ji Woo continued. They were wrong. It changed the war completely. The next images showed Du Yan Park addressing the remaining human forces. His face was wet with tears, but his voice was steady and cold. Ji Woo translated. "Today we lost our home, our birthplace, the cradle of humanity. We cannot bring back what was taken from us, but we can ensure this never happens again. From this moment, we fight not for victory, but for survival. Not for peace, but for justice. The galaxy will learn that killing humans only makes the survivors more dangerous." Taiho's face was pale. "My great-grandmother never told me Earth was destroyed." "Few know the truth," Ji Woo said. "What happened next is why the Federation erased humans from history." The recording showed human ships gathering. Not hundreds, but thousands. They had been hidden throughout human space, waiting for such a moment. After Earth's destruction, humans launched Operation Retribution, Jiwu said. And the galaxy learned exactly why you should never corner humans with nothing left to lose. The recording continued, showing the human fleet separating into 5 massive groups, each headed toward a different coalition homeworld. Operation Retribution was exactly what it sounds like, Jiwu said. Humans decided that if they could not have their homeworld, neither would the coalition. The screen showed human ships arriving at the 5 main coalition planets. They carried weapons similar to the planet killer, but smaller. Humans didn't just copy coalition technology, Jiwu explained. They improved it, made it more efficient, more deadly. Curie could barely watch as the human ships fired on the coalition worlds. The weapons didn't destroy the planets completely, but made large areas uninhabitable. Billions of coalition citizens fled to space as refugees. In just 2 weeks, humans disabled all 5 coalition homeworlds, Jiwu said. They didn't destroy them completely. Du Yun said that would make humans no better than their enemies. But they made sure the coalition understood the cost of what they had done. This is horrible, Curie whispered. War is always horrible, Taiho said. But humans didn't start it. The next images showed the remaining coalition leaders surrendering unconditionally. Their once proud fleet was reduced to a few hundred ships. Their people were scattered and homeless. With the coalition defeated, everyone expected humans to become the new ruling power in the galaxy. Jiwu continued. The Federation, which had stayed neutral during the war, now feared human expansion more than ever. The recording showed Federation representatives meeting with human leaders. Du Yan Park sat at the center of the human delegation, his face stern and tired. The Federation offered an unusual peace treaty, Jiwu said, one that would change galactic history forever. The Federation's main negotiator spoke for a long time. Jiwu translated the key points. Humans have proven themselves to be the most dangerous species we have encountered. Your ability to adapt, your willingness to break conventional rules of warfare, and your capacity for retribution make you a threat to galactic stability. We propose that humanity withdraw to a designated sector of space. In return, we guarantee no species will ever attack human territory again. Du Yan's response was short. And if we refuse? The Federation negotiator replied. Then we must all prepare for endless war. Every species in the galaxy now fears humans. They will unite against you. You might win, but at what cost? More billions dead, more worlds destroyed. Is that the legacy humanity wants? Jiwu paused the recording. This was the choice humans faced. Continue fighting against the entire galaxy, or accept isolation. What did they choose? Curie asked. Jiwu started the recording again. Du Yan conferred with his advisors, then turned back to the Federation representatives. We accept your terms with conditions, he said. Human space will be clearly defined and protected by automated defense systems. Any incursion will be considered an act of war. Some humans who wish to integrate into Federation society may do so, but must hide their origins. And the truth of this war must be preserved, not erased. That last condition wasn't honored, Taiho said. No, Jiwu agreed. The Federation agreed to everything. Then immediately began eliminating records of the war, replacing them with sanitized versions. They wanted everyone to forget what humans were capable of. The final images showed human ships withdrawing to a distant sector of space, beyond the reach of Federation influence. Earth survivors established new colonies. Automated defense platforms were built along the borders of human space. And that's how the war ended, Jiwu said, turning off the recording. Humans disappeared from galactic society. The Federation pretended they had been defeated rather than admitting they feared them. The coalition was absorbed into the Federation, and everyone agreed never to speak of what really happened. Curie sat in silence, trying to process everything she had seen. Why show us this now? Why risk so much to preserve this terrible history? Because the treaty is about to expire, Jiwu said. After 200 years, humans will soon be free to return to the galaxy, and the Federation is planning to stop them, no matter the cost. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the old battleship. Warning, multiple Federation vessels approaching. They found us, Taiho said, moving to the ship's control systems. Can we run? No, Jiwu replied, checking the sensors. There are too many, but we don't need to run. We need to broadcast the truth. Broadcast the truth? How? Taiho asked, looking at the Federation ships surrounding them. Jiwu moved quickly to a control panel near the captain's chair. She pressed her hand against it, and a hidden compartment opened. This ship has a special communication system, she explained. It can send messages to every Federation world at once. It was designed for the final battle, in case humans needed to announce terms of surrender. Or victory, Taiho added quietly. Jiwu nodded. My family maintained it all these years, just in case it was ever needed. Curie stared at the approaching Federation ships on the screen. They'll destroy us as soon as they realize what we're doing. Probably, Jiwu agreed. But the truth will get out first. She inserted the data crystal into the communication system. This will broadcast everything we've seen. The real history of the war. The old ship rumbled as its systems came to life. Lights flickered on throughout the bridge. Engines that hadn't been used in 2 centuries began to warm up. We need to buy some time, Taiho said, moving to the weapons console. The defense systems still work. I can hold them off while the broadcast goes out. You know how to use human weapons? Curie asked in surprise. Taiho smiled grimly. It's in my blood, apparently. Outside, the Federation ships moved closer. A voice came over the communication system. Jiwu activated the ship's comm system. This is Jiwu Park, descendant of Admiral Du Yan Park. We are broadcasting the true history of the Human Coalition War to all Federation worlds. The people deserve to know the truth before you start another war. Broadcast starting. The ship's computer announced. Estimated time to completion: 5 minutes. The Federation ships opened fire. The old human battleship shook as energy blasts hit its shields. Shields at 80%, Taiho reported. These Federation ships aren't built for war. They're mainly for show. He fired the ship's weapons. 2 Federation vessels pulled back, their shields damaged. 3 minutes to complete broadcast, the computer reported. More Federation ships arrived. They surrounded the human battleship, firing continuously. The old vessel fought back bravely, its weapons still powerful after centuries. Shields at 40%, Taiho said. We need more time. Suddenly, a new ship appeared. It was unlike anything Curie had ever seen. Sleek, black, and much larger than the Federation vessels. It moved with incredible speed. What is that? She asked. Jiwu stared at the screen in shock. That's a human ship, a modern one. The mysterious vessel positioned itself between the battleship and the Federation fleet. It sent out a message on all frequencies. This is Captain Sung of the Human Systems Alliance vessel Peacekeeper. We are here to escort our historical monument home. Any further hostile action will be considered an act of war. The Federation ships stopped firing immediately. 1 minute to complete broadcast, the computer announced. A new message appeared on the main screen. It was from the human ship. Jiwu Park, Taiho Kim, and Curie of Solara. Your actions have brought forward a meeting that was inevitable. The 200-year treaty period is ending. Humanity is ready to rejoin galactic society. Thanks to you, it will happen with truth rather than secrets. Broadcast complete, the computer announced. Throughout the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, people saw the true history of the Human Coalition War for the first time. They learned why humans had withdrawn, why the Federation had hidden the truth, and why no one had dared attack humans again. 3 days later, Curie stood with Taiho and Jiwu in a meeting room on the human ship. Federation representatives sat on one side of a large table. Human officials sat on the other. Captain Sung, a tall woman with calm eyes, led the human delegation. "The treaty period is over," she said. "Humans wish to rejoin galactic society peacefully. We have spent 2 centuries building our civilization, developing new technologies, and remembering the cost of war." The Federation representatives looked nervous. "How can we trust that humans won't seek revenge for past wrongs?" Captain Sung smiled. "If we wanted revenge, we would have taken it long ago. We chose peace then. We choose it now." She gestured to Kiri, Tahoe, and Jiwoo. These 3 risked everything to reveal the truth. They showed us that the galaxy is ready to face its past honestly. That is all we ever wanted. As the negotiations continued, Kiri looked out a viewport at the stars. The galaxy was about to change again. Humans were returning. But this time, there would be no war. The memory of the last one had been too brutal for anyone to dare start another. That was the greatest victory of all.